No, Vicky's not here. Jackie's on Vicky's computer.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Frank, don't worry. You're gonna get the video recording. I'm gonna send it to you, so you don't have to worry about taking some minutes.
Okay,
I'll send you the video.
perfect.
Okay, it is, what, 5:03. We're calling the meeting to order on 18th of June, 2020. You got it, Frank? You ready?
Got it.
Okay.
So Susan,
Yes.
since I think so if Deborah, if you can hear us, if you can take because when you vote, we're going to need to take you off mute. I see it trying to, as well as Jackie. Now,
I thought Jackie was on mute. Is she not on mute?
she is. She just came off, so she can stay off as long as she's not next to you.
Okay.
Deborah will need to come off of mute too. So who's the Galaxy tab?
That
Tablet?
actually is Jackie, and then Vicky is also attending the meeting. I just got a note. So
Okay.
Frank
We
Hurst is attending.
Yeah, we just need to know who's who and who's here.
Jackie's the Galaxy.
Okay, so she's on mute. She'll have to unmute when she wants to speak.
I'll
And
walk
so will Deborah.
And Liz Anders.
Turn up my hearing volume.
Sorry, Liz Anders, the 651 number on the phone.
Oops.
Yeah.
It should be on mute.
So Councilperson Andert's on, and so we, other than Vicky is a guest.
Yes.
Otherwise, I don't see any other people on here. So if you wanted to go ahead and start, your public comment would be for Vicky if she had any.
All right. Does anybody want any public comment, or would you prefer to wait until later in the meeting?
I'm a fly on the wall, so
Okay.
further in the meeting if there's need. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Having no public comment, let's move on to the approval of the minutes from the February, from our February 20th meeting. Do we have any comments on the minutes? Were there any corrections?
Well, I had some questions. You see the highlighted items? I
Yeah,
didn't know if I had the correct titles for those people.
That's perfectly fine.
Say again?
Yeah, Frank, those will work just fine.
Okay, so I'll remove the yellow highlight.
yes.
Okay. Do we have, does anybody want to approve the minutes? Do we have?
I approve the minutes as read.
A second.
Okay, so Deborah second and Jackie approved. Okay, moving on.
Is all in favor?
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, we're moving on. All approved the minutes. All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which I'm having trouble finding right now, and I know it's here with 1,000 other things.
Robert's scrolling back down.
Right. Fortunately, I have 1,000 pieces of paper, so looking for, Robert was the main thing. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Instead of looking, so talking about old business, I at this point would like to shelve this until the next meeting because I think our new business is going to be ample. So if anybody has any comments they would like to make on the number 4 old business 4A, the information on the landscape architect, does anybody have anything they'd like to say to that?
Well, is this being tabled?
Tabling it till next time because we have a lot of
Okay,
new business
okay.
and we have been kind of out of sync.
Okay.
Does Frank, Deborah, anybody have a,
I move that we table this to the next meeting.
Second,
all in favor?
I,
Frank, you seconded it, correct?
yes.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, moving on. Number 4B, do we have any further developments on the initiative to use the wood, or would we like to table that to the next meeting?
That tree has been removed and no longer exists.
Right, I guess we had additional trees that we had potentially discussed for future, that we can move that on to the trees without beetles.
Correct.
So if we'd like to table that, let's go ahead and move on and let's start with the new, do I have a second on tabling that to the next meeting?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Since I can't see your faces, okay, moving on to the new business that we wanted to discuss for this evening.
Robert, if you can move us down to the, thank you.
There, okay.
So if you'd like to, then I can introduce this one.
Sure, go ahead.
So we all met with the committee members from the other boards, including tree board, and had a pre-design meeting. So with that information, we turned it over to our consulting engineer, which is Kimberly Horn Associates, and they have done a draft concept. And what we're looking at right now is a draft concept of the Ward Trail, which is the multimodal that we're proposing to build through town. This phase will be Park Avenue to north. So coming from Park and crossing the canal and terminating at north to 2nd Avenue will be the length of this phase here. So what they've put together is some ideas. And it's at this point, it's just a draft. There's no design completed yet. They looked at the existing stormwater systems in the area to see how they would accommodate them. They find provisions to be able to do that. So what it would do, it would follow roughly where starting at Park Avenue and moving south, it would follow the existing walkway. Of course, the walkway would get removed and widened. It would meander around the existing trees in that area, come to the intersection of Lake Butler and McGuire, and then it would start off as new construction in the old railroad right-of-way. Most of that area right there is open. Couple pine trees and some oaks in that area that will meander around. Now, as you look at these concept plans, like I say, they're not the design, they're not the construction plans. So we will be meandering around the existing tree canopies with an arborist on board with the design. And then if you come closer to, yeah, if you can go down a little bit. As you come closer to the canal, of course, we know that's all overgrowth in there. This is on the south side of the canal. So, which is fine. So as you know, the north side's all overgrown. If you'll keep going down, Robert. Okay, this area right in there. Okay, we're at Lake Butler, looking south. Basically where the multimodal will go. So as we move to the south, we'll meander around a couple of those oak trees in there and try to keep away from the critical root zone as much as possible. If you'll scroll backwards, Robert. So we're continuing south. That's the area right there where all the overgrowth and pepper trees, what we just passed. And we all know that's pretty much needs to be cleared and mitigated because I know we've had a desire to remove that for a long time. So then we'll cross the canal, which is right in front of you where that clump of
To the
growth
left.
is. Yeah, and then this area here, if you look to the left in that picture, you'll see the handrail for the ramp for the existing sidewalk. So if you can get your coordinates there.
Do you know yet where the bridge is going? Because I didn't see that listed in.
Yeah, the bridge will line up right in line with the elevated area for the railroad. We just have not done a design or a concept for the bridge yet, because that's going to be a separate little entity altogether, although it will go in at the same time. So the bridge, the new bridge will go in up where that elevated railroad bed is. And we'll make sure that it's higher than the existing. It's kind of behind you, Robert, so we're going the other way. Yeah, keep going, so there's where the bridge will be. And then this, of course, is farther down south. He's standing on about north, looking north.
Okay.
So Leslie can't hear anything.
That's what it said.
Okay. Can everybody else hear us?
I can.
Yes.
Yes, I can.
You
Yes,
can?
perhaps. So I can hear on the phone. Maybe Leslie might want to call in on the phone and she can hear that way.
Can you hear us, Leslie? If you had put that in the, it says you can't hear anything, so I don't know how to. Let me put that in the comment. So let's give Leslie a chance to look in the comment box. So I don't know if it's her audio or not. Frank, can you still hear us?
I hear you fine.
Okay.
I can hear
And we
everybody.
may-
She might not have joined with audio.
Deborah, you hear us?
I hear you.
Okay, so it's probably something with hers.
Scott, it's not showing that she has audio, so she's going to have to allow Zoom to connect to her audio on whatever device she is using, or she needs to call in.
Yeah, she was, but I think it's her device.
I had to put my arrow over my square and it gave me the option to unmute.
Yeah, as admin, I can see who has access to mics and who doesn't, and it's not showing that she has an access to a mic. So that's the issue.
Okay, and some reason, I think her internet or something, because it's just constantly connecting, that was on. So Susan, if you want to go ahead and keep moving on, and maybe we'll have to come back and
Okay.
Leslie next meeting or
Okay, I'll
another
just let her
time.
know.
I can hear now.
Okay.
I can hear.
All right.
Yay!
Scott, if you give me like 5 minutes, because I have the kids watching a TV show.
Okay.
Can you guys still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see it.
I want to say something. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but hold on, Jackie. Let me just get through this
Do I
real quick.
have hard copies of what you're showing?
Jackie, let me get through this real quick, all right?
Hang on, Jackie.
Every property that is highlighted in red is the town owns that property. So we're able to go from north all the way to Park Avenue. And the reason for this meeting is to get either a blessing or comments from you guys relative to this phase one. And the reason that we would need a blessing for phase one is it's going in front of not only you, but long range planning and town council. And then we're going to be able to go to the West Orange Healthcare Alliance, who may fund the entire project, including the actual bridge. Now we're utilizing the entire width of the right of way. And when you see the actual design at the very end of the presentation, that can meander around any trees that may be a protected species. So right now we're looking at the forest. We're actually not looking at the trees, no pun intended, but an arborist will be part of the design program when we get into the actual nitty gritty of the actual design. This is more of a concept. So we're at 30,000 feet. And then, we'll be removing all the shrubs and Brazilian pepper that's in the area. And then for the canal itself, it'll be, again, it's a multimodal path, but it's mostly just for, it's gonna be about 10 to 12 feet in width. So people can bike, get on use their strollers. But it's not intended for a golf cart. The golf carts can still go on Lake Butler Boulevard, but they can use the bridge. And then once they get off the bridge, they'll be redirected to dirt main.
Question. Will there be room for a bicycle to pass a stroller or no?
Yes. On the bridge and on the bike path itself. As you can see in this elevation here, this is kind of like what we're looking at, to where you have concrete. It'll be about 10 to 12 feet. You'll have the what's called retention area, and then this will be a okay, honey, thank you for telling me that. This will be on the landscaping where the existing homes are, so it'll complete that buffer. So you have a buffer of trees. The trail, which will meander around the existing trees if there's some in the retention area, and this is going to be regular main. And then when you look at the actual berm, hold on, Stella. Thank you. By meaning, she's saying that Brady has a present for me, which means he just pooped his diaper. So here's the bermed area. So then the bermed area would be in the middle of the bermed area, which is where the old railroad is. And then you'd have a swale again on this side and then landscaping on this side. Once we get, again, a blessing from you guys and LRP as far as a concept, then we'll actually meet with the adjacent property owners to see what type of vegetation in conjunction with you guys that you want to see replanted along here to help with the noise pollution. But we're not going to be digging out a lot of trees, and you can see here's some recommendations for some of the plants that would be within the retention area. And then these are some of the designs and concepts they're looking for that would be noise buffering and also making the landscape buffer for the residents. And again, they're looking at trees that are mostly going to be good near power lines, because we want to avoid what we had in the past and some of that trimming that we had in the past. And with that said, the entire project's probably about $700,000. If you add in the bridge, again, another $300,000. So it's probably about $1 million a mile. But we are looking at not only the West Orange Healthcare Alliance for funding this, but also there is a tri-city kind of a conglomeration forming to where we might get funds from the state. And also we can use FERDAP funds, and there's another fund that's available. It's just slipping my mind, but that's basically the presentation, is that we just need from conceptual level an approval saying that it's a great idea. As long as we don't take down any specimen trees, we do as much as we can to save as many trees as possible. And we would work with you on a landscape plan on replanting along not only the retention area, but also the buffered area. And I'll leave it with Scott from there.
Okay, so I have a few questions.
I have a question too.
Okay, I can probably answer most of them.
Is there a reason that the canal bridge was not made wider to accommodate golf carts?
It is.
The new bridge will be.
Yes, and Jackie, it'll be higher, so it matches the road bridge, because right now it's lower, so it's going to be higher, so it matches
Yes, but you
the
said
road
it's
bridge, but it will be wide enough, the new bridge, for
golf
two golf
carts.
carts to
Is
pass.
that correct?
What's that?
I said, I understood you to say that it was not going to be wide enough to accommodate golf carts. Is that
No.
correct?
The bridge will. The bridge will be wide enough for two golf carts to pass each other. But once the golf cart gets onto the bridge and once the golf cart gets off the bridge, they'll get redirected to the roadways. The path itself that's outside of the bridge is going to be for pedestrians and bikes and strollers and stuff, but not for golf carts.
So the idea is a golf cart would come down, say South Lake Butler Boulevard. And we would put a ramp to transition onto the new pedestrian bridge, which will be wide enough, like Robert says, for two golf carts. When they cross back over, then they'll transition back to what would be Old Dirt Main. So that way we can get golf carts from one side of town to the other without getting on the main road, because they're not allowed. So, but next question, Jackie.
Yeah, I don't understand, but go ahead.
Well,
I have a few questions. I don't know if you want to finish what you were saying, Scott, and then I'll ask a few questions.
so I think Robert went over everything really quick. So, like I was saying, so this is just a concept to get us from one area to the other to show the overall idea. But you'll look in that everyone has this package in the agenda. And Jackie, if you need a hard copy or something, just get hold of Diane.
I gave her a hard copy.
I have
Okay.
hard copies.
So I want you, when you look at this, I also want you to look at that. The plantings and so forth in there are just ideas. Those aren't designed or set in stone. We'll make those decisions in cooperation, in collaboration with your committees before we go in and decide on any planning. So when you look at those, don't think those are the ones we're putting in. They just put those ideas in as Florida friendly plants, but that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Scott, it all looks really good to me. You know, I understand there are a lot of details to come. I have maybe 1.5 questions. The maintenance, is the concrete going to be sturdy enough that when people run over it with tractors, it doesn't crack it? Like, you know, what I see all over town is, you know, sidewalks that get destroyed by the tractors.
Correct. Or the utility trucks and so forth. So I'll tell you what I do, and it's worked out really well over the years. And I've dealt with sidewalks for a long time. In the old days, they would pour sidewalks 3 and 4 inches thick. After a while, concrete gets old. They never thought about people traveling on them, just pedestrians. But of course, utilities coming. So yes, to answer your question, concrete will be 6 to 8 inches thick with reinforcing in it, and we'll also build a sub base or a foundation similar to like we do a roadway underneath it. We're going to try our best to keep any vehicles off, but from what I've seen, that kind of construction has been able to hold well when vehicles have snuck on sidewalks we've repaired. So it's like the sidewalks in town that I go in there and repair every year. I go back 6 inches thick. So hopefully we never have to go back to that portion again.
Great. Okay, thank you.
So I have a couple of questions because I did walk this area yesterday and look at what trees will be impacted. And if I were to take from Park Avenue to the bridge, obviously there's a lot of scrub in where that, I'll call that general messy swampy area is. However, from Park Avenue to Lake Butler, there are a lot of cypress trees and it will not accommodate even 10 feet of path without losing some cypress trees and going through, and even trying to meander through there, I think is going to be difficult to do that entirely. I understand that not every tree can be saved, but I would like to point out that 10 feet in some stretches over there might be a little on the wide side.
And if I can answer your questions as you ask them, that would be helpful if that's okay.
Okay, sure. So how do you?
Susan, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, we could make the paths smaller in width to accommodate trees in certain locations. We did discuss that. You do see it on the West Orange Trail in certain locations as well. Or what you do is you split the trail to 5 feet and 5 feet on either side to have in order to save trees. And you do see that again on the West Orange Trail.
Okay, cool. And then another question I had in particular pertains to the section from the bridge to north. And having walked it, obviously there are a few oak trees in the way of where you intend to put the bridge, but somebody has come through and there are at least 13 oak trees with an approximate DBH of 15 to 26 that have been planted that are well established. They are on the, they are on the west side of the road, but they're away from the power lines and they do not pose any type of hazard with that. And so I guess my question would be, would it be possible to consider moving the trail, preserving those because they are established? We're not planning on irrigation.
Yes.
And coming in with additional.
Susan, yes, we're going to be saving all those trees and moving closer to the to paved main. The ones that may have to come out are some of the crepe myrtles.
Right. And those could come back with some Florida natives that are easier understory trees. We don't need to be coming back with oak trees because the power lines are there.
Correct. And our plan is that this path will be meandering. So it's not going to be perpendicular to the road. It's not going to be a straight shot. We want to give it that nice, easy, curvy feel, taking in the trees and the also allows for traffic calming. We also have that in a pedestrian setting. So yeah, we walked that whole area and looked at different ideas to make sure to save any of the specimen trees.
Okay, and then I guess my additional question would be is when you do walk with the arborist and do a tree survey, could I request that somebody from tree board be included to walk with that so that we can fully understand and be on board?
Oh, absolutely. We
Okay.
want everybody to be on board because this is, one of those great projects for the town, and we want everybody to have ownership in it.
But I guess prior to be included in this instead of coming back afterwards and saying it's already been completed, because I know in the past we've requested that and it's been difficult to achieve.
Oh, absolutely. I'll make sure once we get the concept approved and we town council allows the engineers to move forward with the design, I'll make sure that we set up a pre-design meeting. And we'll just do it on site and we'll walk through it all together again. I mean, it's going to be a valuable thing for us as well.
Well, and okay. Let's see if I had any other. Some of the questions I do have is more of a future question about plantings that we'd come back with, which you said you would include us with, which I would encourage Florida native plants versus non-invasive Florida native plants. And I do
Agreed.
know that people have spoken to me, and the shade is one of their primary, one of the primary importances of the trail.
Oh, absolutely. Who doesn't want a shady trail? And if I can back up to between Park and Lake Butler, keep in mind too, we have the railroad right away as well as McGuire or Main Street right away. And then when we get up to Dirt Main, we have that right away also. So we have a large piece of land that the town all owns. So we can meander in this whole section. So it's not going to be just particularly up on that raised railroad bed. So in the Cypress area, I was very adamant to them that we don't want to move we don't want to lose any of those, and we even discussed putting some more in those areas. So,
and I would recommend that if at all
correct.
possible.
Yeah, it's a low area, so it's indigenous for that. Now, we talked about maybe moving the sidewalk, widening it towards the west, so towards those properties a little more than in the roadway. So they have marching orders at no Cypress.
Okay,
At
so
this point. And it's like Robert said, we can always split it and go around them too. So
all right, and then there's some ways there, like those 13 Oaks I was talking about. A lot of the routes go into what would potentially be the path area. There would need to be protection or moving over a little bit. Another question would also deal with future utilities. How's that going to affect where we would put this? I mean, are they going to have to come in and then dig this up once we put it in? Where would they,
we regulate the utilities through a permitting process. It'll come through me and Robert. We'll take a look at it. No, we're not going to allow them to dig up our infrastructure. Similar to like what's happening on Park Avenue right now. We gave them the right to use some right-of-way with a water main. And now that we put in a stormwater project, the Orange County has to pay to have that water main relocated. So there is state laws that also protect us in those avenues. So to answer your question, no, we're not going to allow utilities to come dig it up.
okay.
Hey, Scott, this is
Hey,
Jackie.
Jackie.
When do you anticipate starting construction on this project?
I would say this is probably going to take anywhere from 8 months to a year to design, but a lot of it's going to be funding. Like Robert said, he's going to reach out to initiatives. We also have TAC over at the MPO. We're going to try to get it funded as quickly as possible. And we are also putting money aside every year in our budgets for this project. So, you know, if nothing came in, it's just going to take longer to generate it. But hopefully we'll get some matching funds, and we feel pretty confident that we will.
You anticipate about a year you'll start construction?
I anticipate a year in design, and that depends on what the funding is. So I don't even want to guess at that. I'd like to say a year, but it's really going to come down to what kind of funding sources we find.
Okay. I have a
We'd
question.
like to do it in a year. So, I mean, we really are excited to get it started.
Good.
Okay, I've got a question because I've noticed on some of the sidewalks and trails near the developments, they didn't plan well, and the sidewalks are actually below grade and they flood out every time it rains. So is there a way to make sure that when this is put in, because if it's going to meander, it's not going to stay all up on the top there, that when it is set, that it drains properly? So, because if it's all flooded every time it rains, nobody's going to be able to use it.
Absolutely, kind of like the sidewalk along Dirt Main there. No, we're making sure all those provisions are put in place. Part of the design will be a drainage system and retention. So we'd also like to improve the drainage along Main Street in there too, and provide some water quality devices. So we will make sure that the sidewalk is elevated and has proper drainage. That will be part of the design. So it's going to be more than just put a sidewalk in. It's going to be infrastructure, stormwater systems, landscaping. The Parks and Rec has talked about maybe getting a couple park benches here and there. Hopefully we'll do some low-level pedestrian lighting eventually. But it's going to be a full design on it, and hopefully we'll capture everything. So.
All right.
Okay, now this runs from the school, I'm taking it, down to where?
This
North.
first phase will run to Sunkett Avenue. So Park
Okay.
Avenue to Sunkett Avenue. Nothing
Okay,
Park, but connecting to the existing sidewalk on Park.
okay,
Then, you know, our ultimate goal is to have this all the way to go to Chase, and then from Main Street all the way to the Groves. We have a plan already in the works down 6th Avenue. We have a lot of the pieces put together. We just need to come up with some funds.
okay. And they are hopefully going to be set up so that bicycles can ride on them too? Because there's not much room on the road.
No, absolutely. And we'd like to, you know, of course, we know that the high-speed bikers that come through, you know, our goal one day too is to put in a 4-foot or widened shoulder on Main Street that will act as a bike lane as well as a runoff lane. But yes, bicycles, families with their kids, with their small bikes, you know, low speed, low level biking, of course.
Wonderful. Because that's one reason I've started riding on Main Street so that I wouldn't ask people to get off the trail for my bicycle. So I've been riding on the street. It's not a whole lot of fun, but I like the sound of being able to do that. That would be good.
Absolutely. We want to get our residents in safe travel, whether it's pedestrian, bicycle, or vehicular. So.
I guess one last question is, and I think we kind of touched on this, was the engineering, the different surfaces that you can put over tree roots or underneath so that you don't potentially have any tree roots popping up the sidewalk in the future. There are ways to engineer that. Is that going to be a consideration?
Of course it is, and we've already had that conversation. If you will remember, there was a portion on 6th Avenue that we might have to elevate the bridge. We looked into some different type of materials, but we just don't think that's going to be feasible. So, we can come in with our, under the auspice of our arborist and do some air spading. We've learned a lot of new techniques in the last few years. So absolutely, we're going to do everything we can to protect the
air spading, not necessarily. I mean, you might need to do root pruning so that they're not wrenched, but you also are going to have potential issues unless you move it off of, like, you know, at least 8 feet off the trunk of it doing what it did in the willows. And I guess I would say for long term, there are some things, for example, that they've done in New York City that they're able to put under there that will allow the roots to grow under without impacting the concrete.
Correct. And I know UCF has done some studies for me in the past about using pea gravel in areas. They feel that the roots
Right.
something that has air. So absolutely, we're going to put in some provisions because, you know, my plan is I have to maintain it later on. So I'll be honest, I'll be a little selfish. I want to make sure we put in something that I don't have to come back and repair.
Well, right. We're not here for short-term goals, right?
Or anything else. Absolutely.
So trying to anticipate future problems and putting something where it's going to be, we need to cut it down in the future because we didn't anticipate this, and it always being an issue is a problem. So it's cheaper to do that than do the lawsuit.
Right, exactly. And that's not something I want to, I don't pursue projects that way. So we'll try to get everything in. And of course, we're going to be reaching out for the input from the residents and the committees, and we'll have public town hall meetings with the residents as well to share everything and get input.
Okay.
Hey, well, Scott, I appreciate all the work you guys are doing on this. I'll be on that thing with my bicycle and my golf cart. And this all looks really good to me.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. We put a lot of effort in it. Robert's worked on this for years with acquiring the properties through there. So, kudos to him. I know this is a, iconic project that he'd like to see done, as well as all of them that we do. But thank you for those words, Frank. We appreciate that.
Thank you for your presentation. Is there, I don't have the agenda up. Is there anything else that anybody has any comment on?
So,
So Robert,
Mr.
can you
Mohammed,
scroll us back to the agenda to see if we had anything else to discuss? I believe that was it.
Sorry, guys. Sorry,
If you
cooking.
just scroll us back.
Hang on, I've got,
Who's talking?
It's Robert. Sorry about that. Susan, if we can get a motion to approve the concept with the conditions that tree board review
sure.
the replanting, and also that they do the walkthrough with the arborist when we're getting into.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this concept with the addition that somebody from tree board walk with the arborist prior to construction on that survey, and that we also be included in future plantings and future protection for the trees. Do I get a second?
I'll second it.
And
Jackie second.
Yes.
seconds, and then putting it out to vote. All in favor?
aye.
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 And I believe that was everybody. Any nays since I can't see you?
No.
All right, then motion stands.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going back to, I think that was all of our old business. All of our new business. Let me,
Yeah, Robert's scrolling down.
yes. So
Yeah, that was it.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, is Scott, are you and Robert serving us refreshments?
Yes.
So,
Well, I've been sitting here the whole time waiting for refreshment.
so Susan, I
I came out of my hiding to come to this meeting.
I would like to bring up a piece of new business. Do I need to make a motion for that?
What is the new business so they can amend the motion to make a motion to amend the agenda to include the discussion item?
Yeah, I would like to make an motion to include discussion of next year's Harbor Day tribute event.
All right, is there a second?
Do we really want to discuss that now?
It won't take long.
If there's a second to that motion and a vote that approves it to amend the agenda to include discussion relative to the tribute, then yes.
Do I have a second?
Otherwise, it dies for lack of a second.
Correct.
Do I have
I'll
a
second it.
Okay.
Who was that, Jackie?
Leslie.
That was Leslie.
Okay. So here's my input. So we tried to get a sponsor at a high level this year to kind of be the named sponsor. We weren't successful in that. I would like to express an interest from the Rotary Club to be the prime sponsor, and we can discuss, the financial level, but there's a strong interest in, from the Rotary Club to being the named sponsor this coming year and years after.
Well, we'll certainly change the offer. We'll listen to any offers.
That sounds like a good idea. I think, is it possible for us to put that on the agenda for the next month so that we can go through further discussion on it and have a little more clarity?
Yeah, so that was my intent, yeah, to get that
Okay.
on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
All right, then let's put that on our agenda for next month, and then go ahead and we'll table it until then.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Okay, so with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
second,
Second.
Okay. All
or
in
was that
favor?
Leslie made the motion?
Deborah,
Deborah made the
Deborah
motion.
did.
Okay,
All in
And
favor?
All in favor?
They're
Aye.
doing the minutes instead of me.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Okay. We'll see everybody next month.
thank you all for,
thanks all.
thank you guys for indulging me and my family right now. I appreciate that. I'm trying to cook for my nieces and stuff like that, so I have burners going off,
Robert, I'm still waiting for.
making popcorn shrimp and grilled. All right,
Don't
y'all
say
take care.
that. Jackie will want to come over.
Hey, I'm in the kitchen at town hall.
Obvious
Thank
she's
you,
hungry.
Robert.
Cooking, I mean,